The alien's touch. I should have turned back the moment I saw it, but I didn't. The sun hung low in the sky, casting long shadows over the dense forest of the national park. The trail had been quiet for the past few hours, save for the occasional rustle of leaves or the distant call of birds. It was supposed to be a peaceful hike. Just me, the trees, and the mountain air. I needed to clear my mind. The stress of work, the weight of my responsibilities. It had all been getting to me. I needed time alone, away from everything, and for a while, it worked. The solitude was comforting, and the hike was exactly what I needed to get away from the chaos of everyday life. But then, I saw the stone. At first, it seemed like nothing more than a weathered rock. Maybe it was a marker, some kind of natural feature along the trail. But as I approached, I saw that it wasn't just a rock. It was something more. Its surface was smooth, almost too smooth for nature, with faint carvings etched into its sides. It had an odd, angular shape, like something man-made, or rather, something made, but not by human hands. I knelt down beside it, the hairs on the back of my neck prickling. I couldn't explain why, but I felt an overwhelming urge to touch it, to connect with it. Maybe it was curiosity, or maybe it was something else entirely. A primal instinct, perhaps. But before I could think better of it, I reached out and laid my hand on the cold surface. The moment my fingers made contact, a sharp pain shot through my body, starting at my fingertips and radiating outward like a searing electric shock. I gasped, jerking my hand back. But the sensation didn't fade. The pain twisted deeper into my muscles and bones, like something was burrowing inside me, claiming my very flesh. But that wasn't the worst part. The worst part was the voice. It wasn't a voice I heard with my ears, but a voice I felt inside my mind. It was deep, guttural, and alien, vibrating with an unnatural frequency. It wasn't speaking words I could understand, but the meaning came through loud and clear. "You are ours now." I staggered backward, my heart pounding in my chest. The world spun around me, and my breath became shallow. Sweat beaded on my forehead, my hands trembling as I pressed them to my head, trying to block out the voice. The alien presence that now felt as though it were inside me. I couldn't move. I couldn't think. It was like something had attached itself to my mind, taking root in the deepest corners of my consciousness. I could feel it, gnawing at my thoughts, digging into my will, and slowly taking control. I didn't know how long I stood there, paralyzed, my body drenched in cold sweat. It felt like hours, but it could have been minutes. Finally, the pain began to subside, but the voice didn't. It was quieter now, more distant, but still there, lingering like a shadow in my mind. I shook my head, trying to clear the fog from my thoughts. The stone, whatever it was, had done something to me. And whatever that something was, it wasn't good. I stumbled away from the rock, my legs shaky and unsteady. My mind was in a haze, but the urge to keep moving was undeniable. I had to get away. I had to keep going. The voice whispered in the back of my mind, urging me forward, pushing me towards something I couldn't understand. I didn't know how much time had passed when I finally reached the next clearing. The sun was setting now, casting an orange hue across the forest, and I could see the distant outline of a few hikers on the trail ahead. For a moment, I felt a wave of relief. Other people. I wasn't alone. But that sense of relief didn't last. As I approached them, the whisper in my mind grew louder, more insistent. It wasn't just a voice anymore. It was a compulsion, a need. And suddenly, I understood. The entity inside me didn't want me to survive. It wanted me to kill. My hands clenched into fists, and a surge of violent rage swept through me. The hikers ahead were laughing, talking, unaware of the horror that was about to unfold. I could feel the entity pushing me forward, urging me to strike. The compulsion was overwhelming. I had no control. I was its vessel now. I staggered toward them, my body moving on its own. I didn't want to do this. I couldn't do this. But the voice in my head was so loud, so overpowering, that I couldn't stop. It was like a flood, drowning me in darkness. It told me what to do, and I did it. I reached out, grabbed the nearest hiker, an older man, maybe in his 50s, and shoved him hard, sending him crashing to the ground. His eyes widened in shock as I loomed over him, the strength in my hands unnatural, alien. I didn't even know what I was doing. My body was a puppet, and the strings were being pulled by something far darker than I could comprehend. The man screamed, trying to fight back, but the voice in my head was relentless, urging me to hurt him, to end him. His cries echoed in my ears, but it didn't matter. I couldn't stop. I couldn't. And then, just as suddenly as it started, it stopped. The urge was gone. The rage faded. And for the first time since I touched the stone, I was in control again. My hands were covered in blood, and the man lay motionless at my feet. The other hikers, 2 women, stood frozen, their faces pale, their eyes wide with fear. I couldn't move. My mind was screaming at me, telling me to run, to get away, to not face what I had just done. But I couldn't. I just stood there, staring at the mess I had created, the horror of it settling in. The voice in my head was gone, replaced by a haunting silence. But the damage had already been done. The entity that had taken over me had left its mark. One of the women stepped forward, her hands shaking. What did you do?" she whispered. I don't know," I muttered, my voice barely audible. I didn't mean to. But before I could finish my sentence, I heard it again. The voice. This time, it was stronger, clearer, and it wasn't in my mind. It was coming from behind me. "We are not done with you." I turned slowly, my body still trembling. The air around me felt colder now, and the forest was silent again. No wind, no birds, nothing. Just a thick, heavy feeling that pressed down on me like a vice. And then I saw them. The hikers. No, not just the hikers. They were something else now. They had changed. Their faces were twisted, their eyes dark and hollow. They were no longer human. They were the same as the creature in my mind, part of it. The entity had infected them too. The women, now monstrous in appearance, moved toward me, their movements jerky and unnatural, like puppets whose strings were being pulled by the same unseen force. I realized with a sickening jolt that the entity had transferred. It had used me to harm them, and now it was using them to finish what it had started. But the worst part? It was still in me. The parasite, the alien presence. It had not left. I turned and ran. I had to. I couldn't stay here. The creature that had taken control of me, its influence was spreading, and I was still its vessel. And then I heard it again. The voice. "You cannot escape. You are ours." And I knew then that the alien parasite hadn't just taken control of me. It had always been a part of me. And no matter how far I ran, no matter how much I tried to fight it, the entity was in control now. The worst part? I didn't know if it was done with me, or if, like the others, I would become something else, something monstrous. "You are ours now," it whispered again. And I realized, with growing horror, that I was never really alone. It had always been with me. Thank you for listening to The Alien's Touch. If you enjoyed this story, don't forget to give it a like and subscribe to the channel for more chilling tales every week. Your support helps keep these stories alive and the darkness spreading. Until next time, stay curious and stay in the light.